So today we are going to talk about what is called the percent equation. Today we're going to talk about what is known as the percent equation. This is another way that you can solve proportion problems or percent problems. Sorry, not proportion, but percent problems. This method, I kind of find this method a little bit more difficult to do, and you'll see why in a second. But it is another way, and some people find it easier. But remember I told you last week when we were talking about percent proportions that each type of question could have had a different way to solve it? Okay, this was one of those ways that I could solve it, but you can do them all this way. It's just, you've got to think a little bit more instead of just putting things into a proportion. But before we get into that, let me ask you a question. In mathematics, what does the word of mean? What does the word of mean? Multiply. Of means multiply. What does the word is mean? What does the word is mean?
Equals.
Is means equals. Now I want you to remember those two words. That's very important to remember that. Because all we're going to do for the percent equation is we are going to take the what we wrote, or what this question is, and we are going to translate it into math. Watch. For example, 3 is 50% of 6. 3 is 50% of 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to translate that into math. 3 is already a 3, isn't it? So I'm going to leave the 3 alone. Is means equals. Can I work with percents?
No.
So what should I do with this?
Keep it the same.
No, I would make it a decimal. 0.5. Of means multiply. 6. 3 is 0.5 times 6, yes?
Yeah.
Well, what's 0.5 times 6?
3.
Does 3 equal 3?
Yes.
Then that worked, right? So I was just, in this particular question, I was checking to see if I could translate it into an equation. Because now what we're going to do is I'm going to give you questions where one of the 3 numbers is going to be missing. Watch what I mean. What is 6% of 200? What is 6% of 200? Okay, let's translate that into math. What does the word what mean?
Variable.
It means a variable. We'll call that x. Is equals. 6% becomes 0.06. Of is times, and then 200. What do I need to do to solve this? What do I need to do to solve this equation?
Find out what X is.
I want to find out what x is, but how do I do that in this equation?
Multiply 0.06 times 200.
I just multiply. All I'm going to do is multiply 0.06 times 200. Well, that's simple to do. What's 6 times 0? 6 times 0? 6 times 2? 12. And do I have to do the 0.06? Or the 0.0? No. How many decimal points? So I find out that x equals 12. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
What happens when like 200 is a variable?
Let's take a look at something like that. What if I said to you 20, nope. Let's try that again. 26% of what number is 45? 26% of what number is 45? Okay, let's translate this. Can I start with percent at 26%? No. What do I turn that into? 0.26. Of is times what number? What do I put down?
Variable
X equals 45. 0.26 times x equals 45. How do I solve this question? How do I solve this question? I divide both sides by 0.26. Divide both sides by 0.26. That way on this side the 0.26's cancel out, right? And I'm left with x. Now I'm going to do 45 divided by 0.26. And I'm going to keep it to the nearest tenth just in case. But I'm going to go 45, jumping ahead of myself there. 45 divided by 0.26,
Move the decimal to the right.
how many times?
2.
I moved the decimal to the right two times to get 26 into 4,500. Okay, does 26 go into 4? No. Does 26 go into 45?
Yeah.
How many times? Once. That's 26. Subtract. Let's see what we get there. That's 19. Bring down the 0. Does 26 go into 190?
Yes.
How many times? Huh? Could it be maybe 7 times? That sound about right? Let's see if 7 works. 7 times 6 is? 42. I'll carry the 4. That's 18. Wow, that worked out really close there. That gives me 8. Bring down the 0. Does 26 go into 80? How many times? 3. Okay. That would be 18. Carry the 1 there. That's going to be 78. That's going to be a 2. Add a 0, bring it down. Does 26 go into 20? No. So I'm going to get a 0.0. Add another 0, bring it down. Does it go into 200?
Yeah.
How many times? 7 times. Well, since I want to go to the nearest tenth, do I round up? So x is 173.1. And that's how you find out what number it is. Do you think this would have been easier with the proportion? I think it might have been, but just because in the percent proportion, do you ever have to use decimals? Not really. That's why I kind of like that method better. But I'll let you. I'm going to let you do either way sometimes. Okay. This question. I want you to try this question. 21 is what percent of 40? I would like you to try this one. Let's take a look at how this one is done. 21 equals what percent of 40? So I go 21 equals x times 40. Most of you probably set it up that way, and then you divided both sides by 40. 21 divided by 40. Well, 40 doesn't go into 21. So I add my decimal and add a 0. 40 goes into 210 5 times, and that's 200. When I subtract, I get 10. Add a 0 and bring it down. 40 goes into 100 twice. That's 80. When I subtract, I get 20. Add a 0 and bring it down, and 40 goes into 200 5 times. So what I end up is 0.525 equals x. But here's the problem. I'm asking you for a percent. So you have to turn that decimal into a percent. How do I do that? How do I do that? Move the decimal 2 spaces to the right. So I end up with 52.5%. And that's my final answer. Let's try another one of those because that one takes a little bit more work. 24 is what percent of 120? 24 is what percent of 120? See if you can figure that out. Okay, let's see. If we did this one correct, we would have gone 24 equals x times 120. You would have divided both sides by 120, so the 120s cancel out. I would have taken 24 and divided it by 120. Since 120 we know obviously will not go into 24, I'll add the decimal, add a 0. Does 120 go into 240?
Yes.
How many times? 2 times, which actually goes in evenly. So what I get is x is 0.2. But because I wanted a percent, I'm going to move the decimal over 2 places to the right, and what I get is 20%. Questions?
No.
Your homework is worksheet percents number 7. And I'm going to let you get started on that.